Hello, my name is Stucky Streams. I will be commentating the any percent normal race between Inception and TikTak 12 alongside Gooperman.
Heyo.
And are the runners ready? Or do you want to do some introduction?
Well, we're just two runners of a community who decided to submit a normal any percent race to ESA, since racing is always a bit cooler than just submitting on our own. So let's see how it will go.
Okay, so if the runners are ready, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alrighty.
So going in, one thing to be said, Sean, Inception, has a PS4 Pro and an SSD. So all of his loading times will be much faster than TikTak. But TikTak has said that he will try to get a PS5 and an SSD, so it's more visually competitive.
Right. And in Shadow of the Colossus, we do use the in-game time for our leaderboards. So the loading difference doesn't really matter when it comes to that. But of course, for race purposes, it would look a lot closer. So the first Colossus we have coming up is Valus. Valus is a pretty simple Colossus. The main strategy is pretty much just to latch on to the bottom of his leg, hit it a couple times so he falls over, and then climb up to his head. But we actually have like a little bit of an easier time getting there because we can move during that cutscene. So we just run straight to the head, and you'll see that here in a bit.
Yeah, we saw we do a launch off of aggro over here after this initial cutscene. Sean did unfortunately miss it. But hopefully TikTak should get it right here. Yep. Using the curved wall for some reason, you can just launch yourself up, and it saves a bit of time of climbing.
So there is a little bit of a platform skip there that TikTak was attempting to do, and Sean did manage to get. And you kind of just like magnet hands to the ledge above you, but it's pretty precise. So TikTak just opts to forego it to save a little bit of time after attempting.
For clarity's sake, the audio is coming from TikTak.
So Sean does get the stabs on the leg to move to activate the cutscene. You can see him just run around during the cutscene and grab onto the face there. So it's pretty easy to do. It should take just like a couple minutes to learn.
Ooh, and TikTak unfortunately jump stabbing accidentally.
Right, and
one thing that we will see a lot is we will see the runners trying to jump stab at the end, as usually with a normal stab when killing a Colossus, there is a slow motion effect to it, but for some reason if you jump stab, it foregoes all of that, and as we saw with TikTak, instantly skips to the cutscene.
So I do want to say that they are playing on hard mode and not normal.
No, they'll play on normal.
Looked like it just took 3 stabs.
Yes, it is 3 stabs on the head. That's a major challenge.
Oh yeah, I am very out of practice.
Yeah, so this is a normal race, as it, which is the most common. It is the most common category that is run, alongside the time trial category, which skips all of the aggro movement from Colossus to Colossi and directly goes from fight to fight. We will be seeing a lot of downtime in which it's just very small slight optimizations in routing and movement with aggro, as she can be very, very finicky and is known to be scared of small rocks and grass. But we'll be seeing here as well the first major skip. Well, a major skip, yeah. In this game there aren't really any major skips, but we'll be seeing a bit of a cutscene glitch in which the trigger for the cutscene for this next Colossi extends up a lot, so we can stand on the rocks, on the ridges, and trigger it from up top and jump directly down onto Quad, or Quadratus, the second Colossi.
Yeah, and actually, it looks like Sean and TikTak are probably about even right now.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't look that way. And Sean's going to go ahead and attempt to get this. Yeah, he just goes straight there, and it's a really easy skip. It's not very difficult at all. And he chooses to go to the head first. There's actually like some people go to the head first, some people go to the backside first, but those are the two sigils on Quadratus. And he does get the plant here. If you grab on a very specific location on the head of Quadratus, you'll actually get planted, basically, and that just means that you won't get shaken out of your position, so you can just go ahead and get 3 stabs pretty easily.
TikTak opt into jumping straight down instead of the one that Sean did, which was waiting a bit. Planting is one of the more subtle but more important techniques that really separates newer runners from the more experienced ones. It allows you to not waste so much time when it comes to Shaker not being able to... Ooh, TikTak. TikTak manages to just about hold on. It allows you to get all the stabs one after the other instead of being shaken around, because casually you don't really notice it, but once you start speedrunning, you truly notice how much time you lose to shaking around. And usually the way it works is if you grab a flat surface on a Colossi, usually that's when the plant happens.
Right, and we actually saw them both go for what's called cycle stabs, and that's essentially just when you're on like an uneven surface and you get yourself in the right position. Once you stab, you can just immediately let go and regrab and stab again, like pretty quickly afterwards.
In some uneven surfaces and how Colossi react to stabs, sometimes you can get shaken off because you stab and then with the animation that the Colossi does, Wanda loses his footing, in which case we can let go to cancel the stumbling animation, grab back on, and instantly stab again. And it is the fastest method of stabbing that is used outside of individual levels. But it's also very specific in which Colossi it works. I believe there's only 2 consistent Colossi that use cycle stabs.
Yeah, something. It's a small number for sure. It looks like TikTak definitely lost a little bit of time to Sean there, so we'll have to see if he can make that up on our third Colossus here, which is Gaius. And yeah, there's not much going on when it comes to the travel to Gaius. So if you just want to go ahead and kind of explain how that's going to work.
Yeah, so Gaius is one of the most notorious Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus. A lot of people consider it to be the poster Colossi, even though it's the 3rd one, which is honestly a bit of a weird number for it. But it is notoriously, in hard difficulty, it is the hardest, casually speaking, the hardest individual level to pull off, because this game has time trial modes in which you defeat each Colossi individually and can get special items from it. And what we do is we do a technique called the sword launch, in which when Gaius hits his sword on the ground, we can do a, I'd say, precise group of jumps, but every single runner has a different setup for it. But we do different jumps to cancel, to avoid Wanda stumbling from different animations that Gaius is doing, and then abusing the physics to launch from the sword straight up to his head, and then from then on it's pretty standard. Okay, Sean's coming up to a very notorious jump in which if you walk too far forwards, Wanda will snap to the side instead of jumping forwards, and you will jump off. And it's very common for it to happen in races because the game hates us. I don't know. One other small optimization is we need to shoot. There's 3 ways of annoying Colossi. There is whistling to gain its attention, shooting it straight up, dealing any sort of damage, or switching weapons. So we have to shoot him to gain his attention to quickly having stabbed down, and then we'll see if Sean gets a launch. Perfect. So we have to shoot him to gain his attention. But as you saw, Sean actually dealt quite a bit of damage. And if done correctly, if you shoot him enough in the stomach, which is not that hard to do, it's very basic tech, you can avoid having to do one final stab on the stomach, saving a bit of time. Yeah.
Right. So it looks like Sean's got a good plant on the head. He's going to go ahead and go right to the stomach after this. And TikTak's just now starting, guys, so we'll see if he can get the launch.
As you saw, TikTak had a different way of positioning himself when it came to the initial getting guys in its position. And when it comes to the jumps, some very clean guys from Sean. Some runners like to jump off the side. Other runners like to jump forwards, backwards. So long as everyone has a very different approach to it, but we all end up in the same place, which is why personally it's one of my favorite tricks, even if it can be very frustrating at times.
Nice. And I'm really glad that they both ended up getting the launch first try, and TikTak can actually, it looks like you just got the plant, so
yep.
Barring any mistakes transitioning to the stomach, it should be a pretty clean guys for both of them.
Small optimizations as well. As we saw, TikTak, after stabbing everything, he put his sword back. And there is 2 ways of speeding up your stabs in the game. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, if you start a stab with your without your sword in your hand, you charge faster. And if you hold the action button or the stab button, instead of simply tapping it and then tapping it again, it also charges faster. It's a very small thing that I'm not quite sure why it's in the game, but once you start implementing it, especially just casually, it really helps with taking down all of the Colossi very nice and quickly.
Yeah, it definitely saves like a good amount of time over the course of the entire run.
We'll now be going towards Phaedra, one of my personal hated Colossi in any percent, because the trick itself to get up on Phaedra is not hard, but it requires a very specific lineup, which in any percent can be a bit hard to do, and if you don't pull it off, the lineup's completely messed up, and good luck trying to get it back.
Yeah, it's an extremely punishing Colossus in any percent. It's like relatively harmless in like the time attack categories, the boss rushes. But yeah, in any percent, it's like once you're off, it's just there's no like backup strat. You just have to like do your best to get back on. So we'll see if that happens. I hope not. I hope everyone has a clean Phaedra here.
So the basic strat in this one is usually you have to lure Phaedra in and hide and all these different things that take a lot of time. What we simply do is we jump onto the leg, abuse, similar to the sword launch, we abuse one of the animations that Phaedra's legs has and simply jump up higher than we should, and then that's it. I'm not sure if Sean's going to go for the 30 FPS or the 60 FPS, because depending on... Okay, he's going to go for the normal 30 FPS strat. It's fine.
I get a little safe.
Yeah, depending if you have a PS4 Pro or now PS5, there are some strats that can be done, because usually the physics break a bit more in 60 FPS. So you saw Sean step up one and then jump on. He had to pull himself up, which obviously lost a bit of time. In 60 FPS, you can straight up jump onto the top, and you don't need to grab anything.
Mm-hmm. And that was a pretty clean Phaedra there. You saw, unfortunately, Phaedra did shake before he could get to the neck portion. That does lose like a little bit of time, and it's unfortunate, but overall, it's better to just have it done and over with than have to worry about trying to get back on if you fall off. So, good work from Sean there, and TikTak right now is go ahead and going to try to start this up. Let's see if he can get on the leg here. Nice. Gonna wait for the leg to come down. Plays a little safe, and there we go. He's on the leg. Good stuff from TikTak. Now let's see if he can maybe save a little bit of time on the neck portion. from where Sean probably lost a couple seconds.
Yeah. Another small optimization on Phaedra is on Phaedra's back. There is a trigger in which if you step on it, you can Phaedra will do a shaking animation, and you can jump past it to avoid it. Not sure exactly what happened to TikTak over there.
So it looked like he tried to like realign himself after the shakes and got pushed to the left side of Phaedra's neck.
Actually, I have no idea what happened there. I wasn't even tapping my grab button. That was very weird. That was some bug of some sort. I didn't intend to do this.
Well, it was weird, and hopefully it doesn't happen on any other one.
It always appears in the worst moments.
But that's all right. Otherwise, it was still a pretty clean Phaedra.
Very good Phaedra.
Didn't lose much time from Sean there, so he's still likely a little bit behind, but it's definitely like not insurmountable by any means.
Another thing as well. Sorry, another thing. Now Sean's going towards Avion, which is the nightmare of any speedrunner, well, any Shadow Colossus speedrunner doing a marathon run, because Avion is surprisingly involved, even though it looks like we're just doing normal strats, which technically we are. We're not really breaking Avion much, but it's very involved to get a very quick time, and if you miss it, it makes you look like you've never played the game before.
Right, and wing drop is actually the strat that we go with here. There are two different cycles that Avion can have, and depending on which cycle you get, it could make the wing drop a little bit more difficult. And some players opt to not even go for it on one of the patterns. So, but if you do get the right pattern, it's not like a super difficult trick, but it looks really flashy. And if you mess it up, it's probably the most punishing Colossus to mess up.
Hydrus though.
Hydrus is pretty punishing,
Hydrus
but
is very
like
punishing.
it takes like at least a minute to get back on Avion, and it probably takes pretty close time on Hydrus as well. But yeah, let's just say it's not fun.
It's not fun falling off Avion.
So in normal runs, it's really not like that terrifying. But if you're trying to if you're in a race or if you're in a marathon or something like that, then the palms might get a little sweaty.
Yeah, knees weak. So yeah, as we said before, in a race situation, it loses a lot of time, and in a marathon run, it also just looks very bad. But I'm confident that our runners will be able to get it, and this will totally not be a commentator's curse.
Yeah, why'd you have to go and say so?
Well, I've got to put them under pressure. Sean opting to run up the wing a tiny bit. It's possible. He got a wing down, so it should be fine. Did he have a wing down?
Yes.
Okay, then he should hopefully get it fine, because
So
you know he has a very consistent strat for it.
Yeah, he waited a little bit to stab. I think that's just so he can get a nice line up, so he can drop the other wing there. So that's what the wing down pattern looks like for a wing drop. And then if TikTak gets wing up, that'd be pretty cool to see both of them. So he's going to transfer to the back.
Ooh, very
tail
nice transfer.
section. Mm-hmm. Goes for a jump stab. And you want to talk about the sigil?
Yeah. A lot of the sigils in this game are very broken hitboxes. As you saw on Aegon's tail, essentially, if it's glowing, you can stab it. That's the general rule of thumb. But one thing I do want to mention is this is the one class where you do not want to plant, because every speedrunner's nightmare is planting on the wingtips. Because as we said before, when you plant, you do not get shaken. But there's a very weird property in which your Wanda's strength and grip turns superhuman until he's put upside down. In which case, he completely lets go. You can be holding R1, you could be doing everything properly, but if you plant on the wingtip, you will fall down. And there's nothing you can do about it, except avoid getting a plant. So
right, yeah, and I was going to say about Avion's tail sigil, about how crazy the hitbox is on it.
Yeah, it is the most absurd sigil hitbox alongside Barber's back, which is the one that's coming up now, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I do.
Ooh, another
TikTak
one down.
unfortunately is going down, but it's really funny to me how some Colossi they have pretty ridiculous sigil hitboxes. As we get a nice wing drop there from TikTak, they have pretty ridiculous sigil hitboxes where it's like Avion's tail.
Oh no!
Oh, and that is what could happen on Avion.
The game's physics, surprisingly, for how long you spend on top of Colossi, the game's physics does not like you going fast on top of a Colossi. So with some like Phalanx and Phalanx, Hydrus, and Avion, there can be a lot of weird physics. And as we saw, TikTak bounced on a tiny little bit of Avion's wing and just bounced off.
Yeah, once Avion tilts like that, Avion's going so fast as well. It's pretty hard to not fall off at that point. So you gotta like pick and choose your timings properly, or else that can happen pretty easily.
But it's not that bad. I mean, it's fine. It's one of those things that's kind of out of our control. There isn't much you can do to avoid it, apart from just hoping.
Yeah, and luckily this is any percent, so
Anything can happen.
there's a lot of there's a lot of things that could go wrong on Sean's end as well. So we'll have to see if TikTak can make up time there.
Let's see if TikTak gets the nice drop down to the wing, to the tail.
I think he's just gonna go ahead and wait till it flattens out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so he's gonna have to wait out this flap here. So hopefully it doesn't take too long. I'll have to keep an eye on the stamina.
Nah, he should be fine. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're by the fur, you're good.
As long as you're by the fur, it should be fine.
That was another move, right?
Once you're on the tail, it's so much better. So, going back to Sean, we will now be seeing Barber, in which he has another one of the more major glitches in the run. As, I don't know about other people, but I personally consider most of the Colossi tricks more exploits than glitches. Because we're usually not breaking the game, just kind of using it in a bit of a weird way. So,
right.
I don't know why. Oh, do you want to explain the Barber cutscene skip?
Well, I don't know exactly how it works, but I will say that like I don't know what the game is thinking, but I do know that like during this cutscene, if you wait for particular points in the cutscene, when you skip it, Wander will appear in different locations. So he's going to look to pause at a very specific time here, and Wander will pretty much like appear right by Barber's beard, and you can grab on.
As we saw right there. Beautiful.
Exactly. And he's spamming crab right now to just kind of like basically levitate up Barbo.
And I don't know if the community knows, but at least personally, I have no clue why that happens. If you do it too early, I believe simply nothing happens. Sorry, if you do it too early, you will be teleported up in the air, but too far back. So you'll just fall down, and then there's even a possibility of dying there, because you receive full damage, and then Barber instantly punches you. So you've got to be a bit careful with that. Here we're seeing another one of the lovely sigil hitboxes. Not even on it.
Sean did get some back shakes there. Oh, he's got another set.
Yeah, another bad shakes, yeah.
That loses like probably like 7 to 10 seconds right there.
It's managing. You can cancel them, which is the good part. But managing Barber back shakes is very annoying. But that was a very, very solid Barber.
Yeah, it was still a very good Barber. There's no like major mistakes or anything like that. Just a few seconds of time loss. And that's like very normal in this game, to where some things will just like be very different. It's a very like free form game, so there are still things like happening that don't really happen very often to people, and it's pretty much on how you can adapt to those situations and recover from them. That's a lot of what goes into the speedrun.
Just just recently, now we have a bit of downtime, just recently, a new member joined into the community, and within the first couple hours inside, he brought in some of the knowledge that he has from just playing the game casually without knowing any speedrun strats, and has now brought in what seems to be finally a proper lineup for the 13th Colossi in any percent. That saves about, we think it's about 20 to 25 seconds, and it just goes to show that even though this game is, what is it, 14 years old? This port is 2 years old, but the actual game is 14, and still new stuff being discovered. So now Sean is going towards the 6th Colossi. So Hydrus.
So
You want to explain Hydrus skip?
yeah, so Hydrus is actually the 7th Colossus.
That's what I said.
I thought you said 6th.
We will edit that out in post. We'll weigh that out in post.
So yeah, Hydrus is the 7th Colossus, and pretty much how this works is there's a very specific lineup in the time attacks that you can have that really helps get a very clean Hydrus skip. And basically, you want to position yourself in the water so that when the cutscene ends or when you skip the cutscene, you do a very specific amount of like swimming towards a location, and Hydrus it'll basically manipulate Hydrus's AI to where it'll kind of come towards you in a certain way, and you want to wait till it reaches a certain point, and then you jump stab in the water, and it'll emerge its head from the water, and you can just grab straight on its head and start going.
I believe the way it works is you're tricking the game into thinking. Oh, let's see if TikTak got the skip. Very nice as well, TikTak. So I believe the way that Hydrus skip works is this is not peer reviewed, but I believe it works because you get very near Hydrus's head, which then makes the AI think like, oh, what's on my head? I better pop out. And then from then on, it's very messy, but with some very precise jump stabs, Hydrus can be knocked down in 45 seconds. Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think Hydrus thinks that you're on top of him. So when you're on top of Hydrus, for the most part, the game will say, okay, well, Hydrus needs to be emerged from the water for the player to do damage. So I think that's why it does it. In some lineups, though, you could be unfortunate enough to
very nice shakeless Baba from TikTok.
Yeah, in some scenarios, you'll be able to actually be on Hydrus's head, and he'll like submerge into water, and then it's just kind of ripped from there. You have to like reset, basically. But hopefully that doesn't happen, and we can get a nice clean Hydrus from both of them.
Yeah. So as said, in the tire attack, it's a hard trick to learn, but it's very consistent once you learn it. Any percent is a completely different story. And also, as we said before, there is a difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS, so PS4 OG and PS4 Pro and PS5 now. That also changes how fast Hydrus's AI works. It's one of the hardest tricks in any percent, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, it definitely takes some time to learn, especially because your jump, it doesn't look like you got it, unfortunately.
No, that's very unfortunate.
So yeah, in any percent, you don't really have a time. Like in time attack, you have a timer that you go off of. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I know people have been starting to like count how many like swims they take, but that was actually a pretty good recovery from Sean.
Usually the swim count is what is done usually in any percent. I believe it's 10 swims or something like that when you start a specific point.
But another thing that makes it more difficult is you are the one that positions yourself. And if you're not accurate enough with your jump into the water for when you skip the cutscene, then your position is varied, and you have to like I said, it's one of those things that you kind of have to adjust to in this game.
So it seems like Sean is not going to go for the suicide, because in some in some colossi, killing Wanda is a faster, but it's just basically faster than trying to do it normally or trying to recover. But in Hydrus, it can be a very mixed bag.
Right. It's just a lot safer in this scenario, I'd imagine, is why.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't even save that much time to just to let Wander die.
To be fair, he got a very good Hydrus AI, because sometimes you can miss it, and then Hydrus will just go completely underwater. And then from then on, you need to do casual strats, basically. But Sean got relatively lucky, in which Hydrus still thought Wanda was on top of him for a long time, which basically made him skip having to annoy Hydrus again and getting on him and all that.
Right. And those jump stabs there, you can see once you jump stab Hydrus's head, he thinks you're on his head, so he goes down underwater to try to get you off. And normally you could just hold on. But Sean, not only is that not faster, but Sean also was very heavily damaged, so he would have died if he just like forewent the head sigil there, the electric shocker.
Yeah.
So when you jump stab, you can just jump stab the head, let go, and then re-grab when Hydrus comes back up, and just rinse, repeat, and it's pretty fast.
Normally in any percent normal, if everything goes right, you don't need to take out any of the spikes, which also gives you much easier jump stabs, because you can jump stab from much farther forwards without Hydrus dipping his head down. But in any percent hard, or as we saw, Sean didn't have enough HP and had to stab the spike, you have to jump from further back from a bit of a specific position, and the jump stabs are generally harder to perform. But without the jump stabs, it can get very hard to stab Hydrus enough to kill him. So the jump stabs are very necessary to ensure that Hydrus doesn't dip back down. Then you need to start the entire process again. Right.
And we see TikTak approaching Hydrus here. Sean is on his way to the number 8th Colossus, Kuramori. For those of you who played the game, it's the lizard one that has like the little coliseum that it likes to crawl around in. It's a pretty cool skit for that one, but we should probably actually just focus on TikTak's Hydrus here, I think.
Regardless, Kuramori is the easiest and most forgiving in the normal difficulty by far. You have a lot of time to do all of the stabs, and apart from some cycle stabs, it's fine. Let's see if TikTak manages to pull off Hydrus.
He was a little bit far left, I believe, but as long as he positions himself correctly here, he might be okay.
Funnily enough, he is in Discord right now, so he probably has already done it, or not. But we shall see in stream.
That looks good. Let's see if it can get on. Uh-oh.
Very nice.
Hydrus might just... Okay,
No,
he got it.
It's fine.
So a key indicator on whether or not you got it or not is if Hydrus does like a little head shake.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, so it was hard to tell, but you can see clearly that Hydrus is not going underwater. And that was a very beautiful Hydrus from TikTak. He definitely made up a lot of time there.
As you can see, Avion and Hydrus are two of the hardest in the first half. Because even Gaius, if you miss the launch, it's only about like a 15-20 second time loss with getting him to stab you again and getting him to slash again, and you can do it over and over again very easily. Meanwhile, Hydrus and Avion, especially if you don't manage to grab onto Hydrus. Oh, we just saw Sean do a bit of a hover run.
So yeah, Kuramori is coming up here, and I want to say that while it is probably the easiest, and I would imagine anyone can do it given like 5 minutes or so of practice, I have seen it go wrong, and I have been someone who has done it incorrectly. So what we want to do here is you whistle to get Kuramori to climb the wall where Wander spawns, or where Wander comes into the arena, and then that way you get a nice little lineup here with your bow and arrow to shoot its left two legs. And then you just jump right on top of it. And provided the stabs go well here, Wow, that was a beautiful mount, actually.
Sean is
Yeah.
very consistent at getting on Kuromori instantly.
Yep, and those are those cycle stabs we were talking about earlier on Quadratus, where he's able just to decimate the first sigil. And the higher that Kuromori is on the wall, the longer it stays on the ground for you to stab at sigils. So you could play it a little bit riskier if you're confident enough in your abilities to shoot it down a little bit earlier, which is what Sean did there. But if you wanted to play safer, you could let it go up a little bit higher, and I think that's what makes Kuromori so easy.
But do not be fooled by normal Kuromori. He is both one of the hardest individual levels to grind out because the speed in which he goes up is RNG. He can be very fast, or he can be very, very slow and lose you several seconds from nothing. And in hard difficulty, it's completely flipped upside down, and it goes from having a ton of time to barely having enough time to pull off all of those stabs. Because hard difficulty, while we wait for the runners to get to each Colossi, with hard difficulty, you deal less damage, or the sigils have more health. It does the same. You receive more damage, and usually Colossi have extra sigils. So Kuro simply has a lot more health, and it's the exact same time that you have in normal. So it's very, very precise, and you've got to get those cycle stabs very, very, very well to one cycle Kuro in hard.
Right. The only thing that really matters when it comes to like a full game run normal mode is how long it takes Kuromori to get up the wall, and how far you let Kuromori go up the wall. That could like lose you a couple seconds, but otherwise it's a pretty consistent Colossus. Yeah. So Sean on his way to Bassaran, which is a lot of people's it's the bane of a lot of people's existence in any percent, because it's pretty hard. Yeah, it's pretty hard to practice, and it's a completely different like kind of setup than you would have if you're just doing like the time trials. So we try to like get as close to that setup as possible, so that way we can it's familiar, but it is a different setup, so it's not exactly easy per se, and it's incredibly punishing. If you mess it up, you pretty much have two options. You can try to there are a few backup strategies that are very inconsistent, but most players will opt just to go ahead and take aggro. Yeah, literally jump off a cliff and reset it. So we'll see if Sean can get it here.
I know the bottom of that cliff very well.
It's a pretty great skip to watch too. It's definitely one of the cooler ones. Definitely one of the ones you can see that abuses physics the most.
Ooh.
Uh-oh, Sean unfortunately
does not. Would he be able to back up?
He tried it.
Oh.
Let's see.
Oh
my goodness. Wait.
No. Once he's there, it's unfortunate. Well, at least this gives us time to explain it before we see it fully. It's another one of these physics abuse skips. Kuromori, if you get close to Kuromori, he does this. He gets on his hind legs and then he smashes down. It's one of his attacks if you're too close to him. But we can grab onto those little ridges in his leg, not the one that Sean grabbed onto, but the two above. And then with a side jump at a specific timing, we can just get flunked straight onto the head and skip all of the annoying geyser parts that is just through.
Right, and just to clarify, he meant Bassaran, not Kuromori.
I said Kuromori. Yeah, Bassaran, sorry. But very good Kuromori from TikTak. So we see he jumps up to avoid. Oh no!
Oh, Sean misses it the second time. So that is like as close to the time attack strategy that you can get, which is like what you would use to practice something like this. But unfortunately, Sean doesn't get it that time, so he's going to go ahead and have to reset again. So this means that TikTak actually has a very good like possibility of like completely catching up at this point.
Bassaran is very punishing, but getting it first try is also one of the best feelings in the game. And then it's very, very flashy and very fun to watch.
Bassaran is a roadblock, I would say, for a lot of runners. It's definitely like I think one of the more difficult ones to learn, but it's one of the most satisfying for sure.
I have named him 18-minute split for a good reason. It's because he always loses me 20 minutes.
So let's see if third time is a charm here.
You grab the top, which is much better. There you go.
There we go.
Very
All
nice
right,
launch up.
good stuff from Sean. So it should just be as simple as getting a few stabs in here. You can kind of like skip some certain animations. Unfortunately, Sean didn't get it that time, but you can skip some animations if you time your stabs like correctly and don't get shaken at all. But yeah, that's just kind of like 10 seconds here or there. He should be good now.
In normal, he takes six stabs, and for the first 3 stabs, he flicks his head back, and then for the other stabs, as you saw, he kind of shakes side to side. The side to side is much better because we can plant on it and just ignore it. While the head back, we are forced to let go and run back up. But in the end, third try bass run, very, very good. Much better than any of my runs in any percent.
It's not exactly what Sean would like, but I mean, it's a race, you know. It's a very hard run, and it's very hard to do like every strat, like let alone do it perfectly. So
it took me several hours a day for an entire month when learning this game before I even wanted to do any percent run where all the setups aren't precise. There's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot of stuff that is completely different from the time attack, which is what you use to practice because it's very easy, simple, nothing wrong. So getting most of these tricks first try or second is really, really good. Let's see if TikTak manages to pull off the Basran launch. Getting back some space.
Yeah, my general rule of thumb is once you get lined up, once he stomps that left foot is when you go.
Very nice from TikTak.
Nice. He gets it first try. He doesn't get some fast stabs in there, so unfortunately he's going to lose a little bit of time to probably some shaking. But otherwise...
Well, it should only be 2 head shakes. Well, that was a very short stab there. Maybe he mispressed, but it should be fine.
Yeah, he's going to have to do 2 more full stabs in order to get Bastran's other shaking animation. But he should be fine.
Basran is a very rude awakening into the second half of the run.
Right. The reason he's falling off the head there is to try to like get a plant so that way when he switches to this animation, which it looks like TikTak has the plant, when he switches to this shake animation, he won't get shaken out.
Also, if you stay on the head, there is a possibility that Basran will instantly whip his head back again because you're on his head, so he's like, must get him off.
Yeah,
with this...
I've ever experienced that in any percent, which is interesting enough. I'm not sure how often that happens in boss rushes.
Oh, all the time. Trust me. But with this, I think they are... I'm not sure if TikTak's in front, but they are very much tied. Because you need to remember that with every time we are loading here, because of Sean's SSD, because of Sean's PS4 Pro, he is gaining, quote-unquote gaining. We do not use RTA, so this doesn't matter. But he's quote-unquote gaining, 15, 20 seconds, maybe 10. I'm not sure exactly how much faster it loads, but Sean is the best case scenario when it comes to loading, and TikTak is the worst case scenario. But hopefully for the actual race, if it does happen, we should all be in equal footing. But this also gives us time to, see it twice with a good delay in between to explain some things. He's always very nice.
Yep, and Sean currently is on the way to Dirge. This is the one that submerges itself in the sand. And basically what you want to do is you want to line yourself up properly to where Dirge will peek his head out on, from the sand once you are close enough, and then you have to shoot him in the eye, and he'll be hurt and run straight into a wall. And then once he runs into a wall, you can get on his back and stab him. But there's something very specific about Dirge that makes him kind of difficult. I know it was hard for me for a while, and it can be pretty precise. But why don't you go ahead and explain precision stabs on Dirge?
So, because of how the health works in this game for the Colossi, the game doesn't check that you've completely destroyed every single sigil. It simply checks that the max health is 0. So because of the initial arrow shot that we hit the eye, it does take out a bit of health off of Dirge. So each sigil takes 2.5 stabs to take out, and as the game intends it, as we see Sean takes out a bit of health. As the game intends it, after 2.5s, Dirge goes back down. You need to do this whole thing again. But if you do a very precise way, which is 2.3 stabs, you can do just enough damage to kill him and not have him go straight down. I think Sean has it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
Okay.
The way I like to explain it is that if you do enough damage to a sigil, it'll break. And certain colossi are triggered to do something once one of their sigils breaks. So yeah, you just do a little bit less damage than it would take to break the first sigil. And then because of the arrow shot, you'll have enough damage on the second sigil to actually finish off the health bar. And we see Sean was able to get it there.
So another one of these small things that you didn't realize, that looked really good, but if you don't run the game and you don't see it, you didn't see that Sean accidentally overstabbed the first one. We usually say stabs with percentages or decimal points. So we do a 1 stab or an 100% stab, then a 30% stab or a 0.3% stab, and then another 1 stab, which is correct. But Sean seems to have done a 1 and then a 0.4. So his second stab, he realized that he went, oh, I stabbed too much, I'm not going to 1 cycle. So for his last stab, he had to kind of freeball it, and he, instead of a full stab, he did about like a 0.9-ish, and he very, very well managed to fix that small little error, which with the 0.3 stab, the problem with that is you have so little time and so little visual indication of it that it's very hard to get. It's very precise. So it's one of those small things that you look at it, you see a good player do it, and you go like, that's easy. And then you try it yourself, you spend hours, you have no clue what's going on, and you never get it. So it's very, very good from Sean. That was a very good backup. Let's see if TikTak gets it as well.
Yeah, Dirge is also one that can lose you a lot of time. If you notice a theme, it's going to be that messing up in this game is very costly. If you mess up on Dirge, Dirge has to go back under the sand, and you have to like re-get Dirge's attention in order to go ahead and have to get to the second sigil. So, yeah, very punishing game, but it's also very fun to like watch for that reason, especially races. So we'll see if TikTak can. It looks like he's good. So
I'm not going to
see.
say anything. I do not want to commentators curse this.
Maybe we'll see this. I hope not. But if you do just not enough damage to that first sigil, then you'll leave Dirge with a pixel health. And since you break the second sigil, Dirge will go back under the
that is definitely a 1 stab, a 1 cycle. Very, very good from TikTak.
I'm glad we didn't see it there, but yeah, pixel healths are even worse feeling than doing too much damage to the first one, because it's like you don't know until the very end, and then you're just sad.
But now we're talking about pixel health. One misconception is people think that you have to stab to kill Colossi, but you don't actually have to. Under certain circumstances, you can actually only simply slash, or I believe you can even harpoon a Colossi to death. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there is a small bit of tech that doesn't save any time, that is completely a backup, but is idolized in the community basically, that we call the sexy slash. It's when a very technical term. It's when a Colossi. Oh, Sean, by the way, is going to do a small little skip here, hopefully, which will land him directly onto the arena. Very nice. Which is basically when a Colossi has a small little pixel of health on the final sigil, only the final sigil. Instead of grabbing on, you can simply do a slash, and if you hit it, you will kill the Colossi. And it's dubbed the sexy slash. And in Dirge, I've never managed to pull it off, but if you don't get the 1 cycle, there's a possibility that while he's going straight down, you can sexy slash it as he's going down and get a very, very nice backup, which is very hard.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk about the Colossia exploit here.
My best Colossi.
Yeah. So this is Celosia. It's the first of two like bull-like colossi in the game, and in order to knock it off a cliff to break its back armor, you have to scare it with fire off of the cliff. You have to back it up. But as you saw right there, there's a little trick we can do to where as long as Celosia is charging and is close enough to the edge while you are holding the stick, then the cutscene will play, Celosia will fall, and then you can just go ahead and clean it up. And yeah, just 2 jump stabs real quick. It's also really easy to get a plant on Celosia. So definitely one of the more easy ones to do. If you mess up and you get knocked off before you pick up the stick of fire, then it could be a little costly. But yeah, they're definitely one of the easier ones, and Sean pulled it off beautifully.
It is one of those things in which the game, when you treat the game poorly, it kind of gets confused. So it's only checking that Celosia is in the correct place and Celosia is scared. So as Celosia is charging towards you, you can pick up the stick back, Celosia gets scared, is in the right position and falls down. And what's more, there is another way of doing it, which is a lot more inconsistent and doesn't save much time, in which you can just jump down directly, and the game doesn't even check for height. In which case, you can be underneath that little ridge where Celosia falls off of, holding the stick, and Celosia will still get scared and fall down. But it's not very common because it doesn't save much time and it's very inconsistent.
Right. So we see TikTak here. There's a little skip here with this jump. Normally you'd have to like walk down the chasm or like jump into like the river that's over there. But if you jump at just the right angle off this cliff here, you can actually either land or grab onto the edge of the arena, and then you're basically right there. So it saves a good deal of time. So we'll see if TikTak can go ahead and knock out Celosia pretty easily here.
Oh, and for those curious, it does not matter if you go right or left for this. Ooh, so TikTak jumps a bit too early.
Yeah, so in order for this cutscene to trigger, Celosia has to like headbutt the pillar just correctly. But you can jump off just before and land right where the stick is going to land. So it's easier to pick up, and it's like faster. So we'll see if we can go ahead and get the cutscene skip. You can play it super safe and just continuously like drop and pick up the fire stick and just like guarantee that you'll get the cutscene to play. Like that's like kind of like a setup right there. As you can see, like it's relatively safe if you just spam the buttons. But he does get knocked down to the lower layer, which can happen. You could either... There's 3 different layers that you can get knocked to. The lowest is kind of like, depending on where you land, it's pretty hard to recover. But if you run far enough away from Celosia like that, then you could actually pretty much guarantee that you can get on pretty easily.
There's also the possibility in which, ooh, a little... It hit the armor, but it's fine. So there's also a possibility in which she just goes through you for some reason. So you're just standing up top, nothing happens. But all in all, very good Celosia. Small little mistakes, but Celosia is one of the least punishing colossi.
Mm-hmm. There's actually some pretty funny scenarios where you can where you get knocked down and Celosia lands on top of you. And if that happens, you're just kind of like phased through Celosia, and it's pretty funny. But
even that is very easy to recover. You simply need to jump away, and that's it. Let's see if one of them dies to this jump. I hate this jump. It's a horrible jump. I always think it's super safe.
You try to like cheese as much like of a jump as you can out of it.
But
at least I do.
I don't trust it.
So next up we have Pelagia, and this is the other... Well, there's one more after this, but this is like another one that's like pretty precise when you don't want to do as much damage to a sigil as you can, per se. So it's another precise stab, kind of like Dirge. So yeah, I guess I'll explain it more when we get to that point. But just right off the bat, what we're gonna want to do is once this cutscene activates, there's a way you can jump on Pelagia's face. It's pretty simple and saves a ton of time because you don't have to swim around it or anything like that or wait for it to hop up on this platform. You can just kind of go straight to the face.
One very nice thing about Pelagia is he is one of the very specific ones in which how much you have to stab, as Goop said. But one of the things as well is he is the antithesis of Avion's tail sigil, in which it's super precise and much smaller than the actual visual sigil, which catches off a lot of new runners. I know it put me off a lot. You will be on the sigil directly on it and be, I'm fine, but you'll be a bit too high up.
Okay, so here we go. So what he's going to want to do here is get in a decent position, and then he's going to do one full stab. And then you see with the stamina meter right there, he didn't quite go to full on the second stab. You want to be about 90% of full, and then 2 more full stabs, and you should be fine. If you do
Very good
on your
for
second
Pelagia.
stab, that was beautiful. If you do a 100% stab on your second stab, then Pelagia will go underwater. It'll kind of like trigger an event. And if you don't do enough, then on your 4th stab, you will do. You'll have like a pixel health left.
And
So
with a lot of the Colossi, it's extremely punishing because
Oh,
you need
yeah.
to swim around. Because also, for those who have played the game casually, Pelagia does destroy the like statue gazebo thing that you have to hop onto. So you need to swim around, get on Pelagia. Pelagia is completely in the wrong position, and then guide it back, and then get on. You can lose 2 to 3 minutes purely
Right.
on getting Pelagia.
And when I was talking about the most punishing Colossi earlier, I don't know how I blanked on Pelagia. Pelagia is definitely like it. All it takes to mess up on Pelagia is like literally 1 fraction of a second, and you lose like whole minutes. So
It is the most punishing single trick. Although it's not the hardest Colossi by far. It's one of the harder ones, but there are definitely harder ones. It's just, it's the most punishing single trick in the game.
yeah, I would agree for sure. So
Other than maybe Malice, but
yeah,
depends
so
how that
John
goes.
is currently on the way to Phalanx.
Yes.
And Phalanx is a lot of people's favorites when they play the game casually because it's just like a big, magnificent flying creature, dragon-like, and yeah, so it's pretty neat, and it's a relatively simple Colossus, but we do actually have like, I wonder if Sean will go for it.
Yeah.
Since
As I
has he
mentioned,
tested it yet?
well, the thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the run, a new member of the community has just joined in, and now we have a quite experimental, but we have any percent set up for Phalanx to get him to dip really low. That is more or less
Unfortunate for
finishing,
he's definitely going to lose about like half a minute to a minute from that.
but that's fine. It's something that can't be recovered. But as I was saying, there is a new setup for any percent Phalanx. But the problem with Sean is that he is the only mad person who's managed to do who tries to do the individual level strat in any percent, which I don't think he'll perform. But we shall see. Maybe TikTak will try the new strat, but I'm not sure what Sean will do.
He is going for the strat, the IL strat right now.
He's going for the IL strat? Oh, he definitely is. So let's hope he pulls it off, because it's very impressive.
So the goal is to shoot these sacks as fast as possible and be in the right position for Phalanx to go to the left of this pillar. And yeah, he missed the first sack there. So he's not going to get it. But he didn't really lose too much time going for it. It's probably, yeah, he didn't lose much time going for it. So it's not that big of a deal. We'll see him hopefully not mess up. And this is like another Colossi that has the precise stab, although it's not as strict as on Dirge and Pelagia. Basically,
I've tested it out, and not even doing the precise stabs, you can still one cycle Phalanx. So Phalanx is, it's preferred to do the precise stabs, but it's not necessary. TikTak managing to get Pelagia after a bit of trouble, but nothing that is too horrible. Went very well.
if you do too much damage to one of the sigils, then Phalanx will just like do a barrel roll and you'll lose like a decent amount of time. But it's not like you'll lose as much as the other ones if you mess up. So, yeah, you just want to do like one full stab and then one just a little bit under full, and
yeah, like 85-90%. It's not very precise, and it's always better to overstab and get a barrel roll than understab and then having to run back. That's really bad, having to run back. But
right.
Phalanx is, in my opinion, apart from like having to shoot the sacks alongside Kuromori, it is the easiest and most forgiving Colossi.
Right, and you can mess up the jump onto it. I've done that plenty of times, and many runners have done that plenty of times. But yeah, it's pretty simple.
It is a rite of passage. But,
so we'll see TikTak make his way to Phalanx, and then Sean will be on his way to Zenobia.
What is what we're trying to do with individual level Phalanx and now with the new strat is with some, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but with specific timing and a bit of specific positioning, you can get Phalanx to dive down to the point that he even goes underneath the sand. So instead of the typical, he floats a bit above, his fins go into the sand and you can jump on, he goes straight down and you can jump directly on top of Phalanx. That is the dream. That is what we want to try to get. But it's nothing too bad.
Right, and shout out to that new runner, by the way. I believe his name is Frequency.
Frequency, yeah. Well, technically he isn't even a runner because he doesn't own a copy of Shadow of the Colossus. So he can't even submit a single run.
I still count him as a runner because he helped us with
definitely.
He's definitely part of the community, that's for sure. So we appreciate that. Shout outs to Frequency. So yeah, Sean on his way to Zenobia. This is, I think, the longest travel time to a Colossus. So
yes, I don't think Dirge. It's either Dirge or Zenobia, one of the two. Because Dirge goes real far left.
I just want to point out that the forest that TikTak just went through is not as easy as it looks. It's actually like relatively like difficult. I think we saw someone kind of mess up in it earlier. I think it might have been Sean who messed up. But if aggro goes too far off the path, then you kind of have to like slow walk aggro towards the center of the path in order to like get her to go faster. So
as I said at the beginning, for some reason aggro is scared of small rocks and grass, and that is the grass that aggro is scared of. It seems like TikTak will be going for the Frequency setup because instead of going in through like the little archway, which is what people don't usually do, you can go in through the side, and then that gives you a good lineup for it. And let's hope he gets it.
So I think he's pretty consistent at it already, although like there are some points that are kind of variable.
Yeah.
Like how far Phalanx goes downwards. So we'll see if he gets a good dive from Phalanx here.
But the strat is very, very consistent. Like, yeah, okay, so even if he doesn't get it perfectly, he still got okay, he didn't get it perfectly, but he still got Phalanx down much earlier than Sean did. Wow. But
yeah, it'll take a little while to get used to the strat. So it wasn't
new strat.
It wasn't exactly the new strat, but it was still like a pretty fast way to like get some arrows in. So
yeah, it is the good part of the strat that even if you don't get like the really, really good strat, you are still saving time just because Phalanx goes down so fast compared to, because normally in a normal Phalanx he has to go around an entire rock formation and then you can finally come down, and it loses about like loses. The new setup, as I said, gains about like 20 to 25 seconds. Is that right?
Yep. So Sean's still quite a ways away from Zenobia.
It's a very long trek, one that everyone gets lost in constantly.
Right. TikTak should be able to knock out this last sigil here. I don't think he understabbed anywhere, so he shouldn't get like a pixel health or anything.
perfect. And even if he does, which he's not going to, but it's a thing that it's just running back up, no problems. Very good. Now, one thing is, generally speaking, it doesn't really matter if you have a PS4 or a PS4 Pro when it comes to running this game, unless you're going for like a world record, which by the way Sean has for about a minute or something like that. It's ridiculous. But it doesn't really matter. But there are some tricks that are specific to 60 FPS. So as we said before, Phaedra has a special launch that is only consistently possible in 60 FPS. But we are now coming up into the only instance where 30 FPS is better, which is Zenobia. If you want to explain how the super jump works.
Oh yeah, I love this trick. Let me tell you. So
I loathe it.
basically, in 30 FPS, you can run up. Actually, I'll go ahead and explain how Zenobia works, like casually, kind of. You'll be able to see, but there's like a big, vast, like I don't know what to call it. Like
there's this whole parkour arena that you're meant to do, which is very slow, so we don't do it. You know, we're speedrunning here.
So the goal is to get Zenobia all the way to the end of this section and get it to knock a pillar over, so that way you can access the next portion of the fight. But what we do is instead we actually just run directly towards that pillar, and if you kind of like try to clip yourself into it a little bit while like mashing jump, if you do it properly, then you'll actually kind of boost yourself, like your normal jump, higher than normal, and you'll be able to grab onto the ledges that are surrounding the pillar.
Hopefully we should see a very good launch from Sean. Yeah, it is.
Yep,
that was a good launch.
Yeah, and the height differences don't really matter too much. You just kind of want to get onto that ledge like as soon as possible. So
yeah, because regardless, we have to wait for Zenobia to hit the pillar once. So of course, the higher up, better. But we have time to climb up. We're also going to see a smaller trick called Wacky Jump. There's a bit of terrain there that we can jump on to get onto the top bit faster.
Shout out to Wacky, another
runner who found that out. But as I was saying, yeah, the super jump, because we need to wait for Zenobia to do his first hit, it doesn't really matter how high you go. It's always better higher, but it's fine. But it's you have to press jump at a very specific timing, but because there isn't any consistent setup, we just press it a lot very quickly. If precision doesn't work, brute force it, you know? So
the end of the fight here is pretty simple. You just want to kind of, you get like a really easy plan.
Going for the jump stab, would it be worth it?
Yeah.
No. The jump stab. It's the jump stab onto Zenobia is a curse, because it's you want to plant onto Zenobia. If not, it's impossible, because the game doesn't intend you to stab Zenobia while you're on top of him. But if we plant, we can stab him constantly. Very good Zenobia.
And you see Sean switching back to the 60 frame version of the game.
Yeah, because there's a cinematic mode which renders in 4K and 30 FPS, even if you don't have a 4K monitor.
Right. So that's overall a pretty clean Zenobia from Sean. Could have had a little bit better of a super jump there, but there's not much more that you can ask for on that one.
Definitely not. One thing as well with the super jump, there is a backup strat, or the old strat, that is called Kaze jump, in which there's a small bit of a raised ledge, and you can just about jump over to the second to last platform, which you have to do in the entire parkour section, which also skips the entire thing. So even if you don't get super jump, the backup strat is right next to it, and you shouldn't lose that much time. So I'm going to go out on a limb here with Commentator's Curse. TikTak takes a lot of pride in his Zenobia.
Yeah, he's grinded the individual level like record before. He's he's really put a lot of time into this Colossus. So hopefully, and it's never like easy. So it's not like
No,
just
yeah,
because he's
definitely.
grinded it so much that like he's guaranteed to get it. But he is very good at this Colossus. So
All three Team Eco games, or Fumito Ueda games, characterized speedrunning wise, in which it's dealing with AI. Shadow of the Colossus is the least one, but we still have to deal with how the Colossi constantly react, how aggro reacts sometimes, which while it isn't AI, she can be quite temperamental with it. So getting strats even world like I haven't seen a world record without at least one reset or like one slightly failed trick. Consistency is essential, but like expecting every single PD to be perfect, to get everything right, and just simply do small optimizations is ridiculous in this game.
agreed. So Sean on his way to the second to last Colossus. His name is Argus. And he's another roadblock, I think, for a lot of players, especially 90%. But the good thing about 90% is even if you mess up his trick, the trick that you do, all you got to do is just there's a cliff right there that you can jump off and just reset pretty quickly. But yeah, it's still like not necessarily an easy trick. So we'll see if they can do it.
A good part of let's hope that they can all get the tricks first try. A good part of this run, at least, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same if the run ends up going up, but at least we are going to be waiting for the credits to roll to see who did in fact win. So we will have some downtime to talk to the runners, see how they felt during the run and stuff, if they want to. And by if they want to, I mean they're going to. Very unfortunate, but it's fine. We'll see if he continues going for the super jump. Oh, he got super jump. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, so even if you mess up, Zenobia is kind of weird. As long as you're kind of like trying to clip into the pillar, Zenobia has a hard time like hitting you. So it's pretty easy just to like do repeated attempts at getting a super jump.
The whole pillar allows you to super jump. There's just one specific spot. Well, there's two specific spots when you're going in that is both easy to access and also it's both easy to access. Ooh, he missed wacky jump. At least now we'll be able to see where the wacky rock is, which is that one right there. You can jump right on.
Yeah,
still a very
on
good
top of
Zenobia.
Zenobia was not in the best position. So there's two positions Zenobia can be in when Zenobia destroys the pillar. There's the position Sean had Zenobia in, and there's the position that TikTak had him in. And the position that TikTak had him in is very rough because after Zenobia breaks the pillar, it kind of just doesn't know exactly what to do entirely. So
it kind of gets confused because, of course, the game. Actually, no, it's just a bit confusing. Wait, let's go on to Sean because he has the leg launch on Argus.
Right. So let me go ahead and explain this real quick. So you see that big sword that's in Argus's hand? It's covering up a sigil that normally you would not be able to stab, but we did eventually find a way that you can kind of like get onto the hand and stab it. Otherwise, you'd have to like lead Argus around a big arena and get him to break and knock the sword out of his hand. But since we can stab it so quickly, we could actually just go ahead and get set up for this launch. And
very nice.
And yeah, that's another physics abuse right there. So normally Argus would take like a very long time because you have to like lead him around the arena and get him to smash his like sword or hammer or whatever he's got there into a bridge and knock it out and everything like that. But yeah, you just jump right into it. And that's a lot harder than it looks too.
It's so hard, it's so precise. Very good cross-eye from both of them. TikTak, very good with the backup strats, keeping it cool. You know, super jump. If it fails first try, it's pretty normal. Just keep on trying. If you see that Sonobi's getting a bit too in the way, go for Kaze jump. Just the most important part is keeping cool, knowing what to do, and these runners are very, very good at it. And Argus, again, is another one in which you really need to keep it cool. I know I've lost a lot of PBs to getting frustrated at Argus and just messing it up. But we'll be seeing Sean going towards the final Colossi and TikTak going towards the second final one. As we saw there, TikTak had to wait a second to be able to skip the cutscene because it said disabled for loading, which is like the more visual part of the PS4 Pro with an SSD and the PS4 original without the SSD with loading times.
Yep. And that does not affect like in-game time at all.
Yes,
so.
that is the good part, which is the reason why you don't need a PS4 Pro, you don't need an SSD. It makes it a bit better. It makes RTA lower, which allows you to do more runs, or at least get a bit less bored. But at the end of the day, we are all in a very equal playing field, which is very, very nice. In this downtime, I was going to say something. Yes, Malice strat. My favorite Colossi out of all of them, definitely. Honestly, I think it's more or less of a general consensus. I don't know about you, Goop, but I find the casual strat a lot harder than the speedrun strat when it comes to going towards Malice.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. It's definitely like more interesting for sure. It looks a lot cooler too.
It looks very, very risky, and while there are risks involved, there is a bit of RNG involved. We've even coined a term recently for our lovely runner TikTak called getting TikTaked, which originally started as Malice messing up one of your PBs, but has just transcended into messing up a Colossi spectacularly. So while the strats that he has discovered do not bear his name, getting TikTak does. So remember, if you mess up something horribly, you just got TikTaked.
I'm still the only person to ever get soft locked on him, so
that is true. That is true. Now that we have some bit of downtime, he managed to get soft locked. He got shot into a barrier, which has a bit of a slope, which seems to be very, very messy in this game, and he fell indefinitely. And Malice, for some reason, didn't even shoot him. So Malice wasn't going to kill him. He was falling indefinitely. He was never going to land, because he was landed already. So he had to turn off the PS4. And I believe that was some PB pace as well. So
yep.
That's what spawned the getting TikTok, but now it's just transcended. And we do have a very loving community.
So Sean is approaching the gate of Malice here. Yeah, you just have to stop aggro right there and point your sword at it.
I believe there's been trying to get like a consistent setup of being able to do it while riding aggro, and I do think some people have managed to do it. But it's, you know, it's such a small optimization and nothing's really been found. It's just, yeah, just stop and point it. It's not that bad.
So we're getting to the like pretty much the only spoilery part of the game that honestly that if you've never played the game before and you don't know much about it, this would be like the only real surprise that you would get, or at least the first one.
Yeah.
Get your Bible thumbs ready.
Bible thumbs. Oh no, aggro. But it is the favorite part of a lot of speedrunners because aggro gives us a lot of grief sometimes.
Sometimes it's nice.
Sometimes you know, like after aggro is being very annoying, he's like, yeah, okay, just go have a bath. Think about what you've done. Also, one small thing that I mentioned is movement tech in this game. We can see TikTak quickly. We can see he's doing what's called a double roll. In the modern controls, you can roll with your hand out instead of your sword, and then you can shine your sword during the roll, which lets you roll again for some reason. That is the fastest, consistent way of movement. And then, if you don't want to do that, you can always jump and then cancel the landing animation, which slows you down by whistling or switching weapons, which is the more common way of moving around and my preferred way.
So neither one of the runners were able to do this, but you can actually jump straight from Argus's hand to his leg, and it saves probably like a good 10 seconds or so. That's fine. Let's see TikTak go ahead and get a nice clean launch here.
Very nice. Luckily, we haven't had to show the pit of shame of Argus. That I
Yeah.
know all too well.
And then there is a plant spot on his head. TikTak did manage to get it. But yeah, there's a plant on his head right behind the sigil.
It's still very, very good. Ironically, actually, while plants make it very consistent, it's not the fastest way. Optimally, if you want to do something really, really well, you do want to get shaken because that allows you to stab again very, very fast, much faster than with a plant. Because while plants ensure that you're always going to get the stabs, you do have to do the entire pull the sword out animation. Well, let's see Sean do the strat, which is very, very impressive from Malice.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch as a spectator, and you feel like you're in an action movie, honestly, when you're playing it.
It's
It's
a
kind of
lot
like
of fun.
you're just dodging all these shots, and yeah, so Sean was able to get it. It's pretty easy from here now. So
Yeah. Well, he's probably gonna do pitless because he constantly talks about how free it is. Pitless is a very not a very hard trick, but it's a trick that only saves 2 seconds. This one right here, instead of jumping out into the pit, he just rolls around. It saves only 2 seconds, and if you mess up, it completely messes you up. So only the best runners, so TikTak and Sean, do it. They say it's very free. I completely disagree.
Now you're putting me on the spot, so I have to do it.
I'm definitely putting you on the spot.
Well, I'll do it if the lineup is fine.
So
Yeah.
there's some platforming sections here on the backside. You just want to get to a spot on a ledge here where you can shoot the weak spot on Malice, and he'll lower his hand, and it makes it a lot easier to jump into.
First shot was very nice.
Yeah, that shot can be pretty tricky, but luckily he was able to get it here.
This is a bit of an advanced strat. It's called early bow, because usually you would go a bit higher up and you would do essentially the normal strat to get on that hand, but some of the better runners do that. Just shoot it earlier.
And then right here is a plant on the head. There's a way you can mess it up, but honestly, you just gotta wait a little bit on one of your stabs, and then you're pretty set. So
Also, just so it's known, the timing wouldn't stop here. There is while this is the final fight, and GG's to Sean. Very, very nice run. There is a scene after this which still requires input, which can still do time, so time wouldn't be yet. And I should have added a timer, but there was no time. That's fine. There was no time. Get it? I'll see myself out. But yeah, so now spoilers. Dorming possesses Wanda's body or something along those lines. So now you get to control Dormin. And then timing will stop when Wanda gets sucked into the milk bath at the back of the castle. It's meant to be light, but it's milk.
yep. So
Whoa,
this is.
wait, what's Sean doing? Wait, he's flying. What?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see it? He's up in the air.
Happens when you walk on the guards' heads, basically.
So yeah, this is the last playable section of the game. So it is still timed, and it is tracked in the in-game timer. So I guess I kind of want to explain the in-game timer real quick.
Wait, quickly, we do need a vape nation from Sean. Production says we need one.
Yeah, there's a flamethrower attack that you can do with Dorman, and it's blue, and so it's just like a nice vape cloud right there. So
Yeah, a nice little blueberry vape. Yeah, go on with the in-game timer.
So the in-game timer is interesting. We didn't used to run on the in-game timer. We used to run on real time. And the big difference is that the in-game timer does not count any time where you can't control Wander. So like during cutscenes where you can't move and stuff like that. But if you can move Wander, the in-game time is tracking. So Sean actually right now is still tracking in-game time. And
Wait, and the time will stop
Yeah, right when it goes into this pool
now.
here.
GG's,
Yep,
good Sean.
that's time for Sean. So
Guys,
yeah,
GG, Sean.
jeez. So I do want to say the most interesting part about the in-game timer, however, is that it actually runs at 90% of real time. So it is 10% slower than real time. So yeah, for every 10 seconds is 9 seconds in-game time. For every 10 seconds real time, that is, which is like really interesting. So you'll see the in-game time on our leaderboards are actually running on that. So if you wanted to calculate the actual in-game time, you'd have to multiply it by what?
1.1, I believe.
Yeah, you'd have to multiply it by 1.1 to get the actual accurate in-game time. So it's just kind of funny that like our leaderboards aren't even like a real measurement of like of like real time.
The game gives us the tools, and we have no need for milliseconds or anything like that, because so much can change, go wrong, be slightly different. That like it's not like other speed games where like first is a certain time, second is 1 second behind, third is 1.2 seconds behind, and all these different things. We have a bit more of a cushion because it's so much can go wrong, so much is different. And always with these 3D games, there's a lot of differences, like slight differences in pathing. Still
Yeah,
very good
and
time.
yeah, I also want to say that it's like 100% accurate, has been tested as such. So
Ooh, TikTak.
that was
Ooh.
terrifying.
That was a bit scary.
Time to get TikTak live.
Time to get yeah.
Let's hope
Good
no
on ESA.
tic-tacs happen here.
But one small thing that I like to add is when they're jumping, you can see, well, when they're doing any sort of action, you can see that that is like a white circle during the in the stamina bar circle thing. But when jumping up, you've only got to do a bit more than 50% to get a full jump. So between 50% and 100%, it's all the same. Nothing happens. Let's see. TikTak gets a very nice.
There you go,
pitless.
Sparky.
Thank you. Production says that was very good.
So yeah, the thing about this race is also because of the whole SSD loading time and pro issue that was mentioned multiple times. It's like 3 or 4 minutes of difference. So I don't think I won. Most likely Sean is so better, but it was like way closer when it looked. And if this run ends up being accepted, I will make sure to have even footing on the loading part of things.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure at some points it was very close as well. Like
Past Bassaran was very, very close.
In the end.
I think I messed it up mostly during Pelagia because I failed the initial setup, so it took me a while to get to one cycle, which was me probably 2 minutes or so. But other than that, like there was a good back and forth in between.
We do see TikTak going for the more normal strat, in which you go all the way up when it comes to the in which we go all the way up when it comes to the getting on Malice's arm. It's more consistent, it gives you more time, and it positions you in the correct place, so it's just safer in general. Now, unfortunately, with all 3 Fumito Ueda games, when speedrunning, we do not know if there's any way to skip the cutscenes. And actually with TLG does use RTA, so that's not much of a problem, The Last Guardian. But with Eco and Shadow Colossus, GG TikTak, because we use in-game time, we need to wait until after the credits roll to go back to the main menu to see how much time it tells you. So we know these lovely credits very, very well. And yeah, just with a small little bit of dorming now left with TikTak, it should be the end of the run and the end of the race.
Yeah, we just have another 2 minutes or so. We have the dormant section, so all the difficult sections are now done. So congrats to runners.
And then if this gets accepted and TikTak has an SSD and a PS5, there wouldn't really be much of a need to to wait the entire credits, because I get that for like the stream. It might be quite boring, and because it isn't like anything official, but you know, it doesn't really matter who specifically won. We can just use RTA and end the run here with the credits roll.
Yeah, it's mostly became a standard because we do a lot of those community races, and people have widely different setups with PS4s and SSDs or not.
I know in the last noob race, because we do two different races in the community, noob races for newer runners and what we call the big race, which is for the more experienced runners. In the past noob race, the third place finished, what was it, like a couple minutes in front of second place? But because of a lot of resetting and all these different things, the second place who took more RTA time had a lower IGT because of loadings and all these different things.
Especially because without SSDs, the loading times actually widely fluctuate even with the same system. Like you have splits from half a year ago, which are unbeatable to me because somehow my console was loading faster. So there's that as well. But yeah, like you said,
but
for the sake of stream, it will be fine.
It will be more than fine to just you know, cut it here with how
and to be fair, it's not the easiest fate to run against Sean.
No, but it's still very, very good.